How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video. And let's talk about some gaming news. And with this one, this might be an update to the thing that's going on with China when it comes down to, I guess, trying to regulate how many hours or time minors under 18 play video games. Now, for those who don't know what's going on in China, China is trying to regulate, or if anything, trying to force certain time limits on kids or minors that are under 18. Specifically, 3 hours a week, which we've already talked about, and I've even discussed it with the group, or, our group in Novakast, about how this could be a problem. And something I didn't mention that somebody made a good point on is the fact that this trying to implement something like this where, and it does seem like it only focuses on the online, trying to implement a ban or time limit in a certain area may cause problems for the internet for the rest of the world. But to that regard, it all in all, it's something that is, in my personal opinion, kind of stupid. And I'm not trying to be political or anything. It's just at this point, especially when it comes down to managing the time of kids playing video games, it shouldn't be the government's responsibility to do that, but rather the parents. The parents should be the one responsible doing that. Otherwise, we get people like, that go on Dr. Phil thinking that Dr. Phil is going to be on their side when it comes down to parenting, when reality, Dr. Phil calls them out for being idiots. But anyway, I was looking for news and I came across a possible update when it comes down to the that drama going on the Reutters.com business website. I'll try to leave a link in the description, but the article itself is called Chinese Gaming and Metaverse Shares Battered About Regulatory Squeeze. And just to read the article, Shanghai, September 9th, Reuters, Chinese gaming and metaverse-related shares skidded on Thursday, dragged down by an ongoing regulatory squeeze that has engulfed industries ranging from online platforms and entertainment to for-profit tutoring and real estate. In the latest blow in China's online gaming sector, the South China Morning Post reported on Thursday afternoon, that Beijing had temporarily suspended approvals of new games, further hitting shares in the likes of Tencent Holdings, which is 0700H or .hk, and NetEase, which is 9999.hk. Asked me to read more, but I'm not going to. Shares in the two companies closed more than 8% and 11% lower, respectively. The decision to freeze new video game approvals was revealed at a Wednesday meeting between Chinese authorities and gaming firms, including Tencent Holdings and NetEase, said the report, citing unnamed sources briefed on the matter, adding that it was not clear how long the suspension would last. Tencent declined to comment on, apparently, the gaming approvals, while the National Press and Publication Administration, which is responsible for approving game titles, and NetEase did not immediately respond to the request for comment. Stocks in listed gaming companies had already been battered earlier in the day after state news agency Xinhua, hopefully I said that name correctly, or pronounced that correctly, reported on the same meeting. Xinhua said the meeting aimed to ensure the companies implemented strict new rules to curb gaming addiction among minors. Now, I gotta quickly say something about that. Again, when it comes down to the quote-unquote gaming addiction, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but when it comes down to the quote-unquote gaming addiction where kids play hours upon hours and hours of gaming, especially when it comes down to that, it should be the parent's responsibility. If anything, what I'm hearing right now is the fact that parents allow their kids to play hours upon hours and hours of games and not doing shit about it. So at this point, it's not a gaming addiction per se, but more so bad parenting. But anyway, continuing the article, it reads that including a ban last month on under 18 playing video games for more than 3 hours a week, but did not mention the suspension of gaming approvals in the report. Xinhua also said that companies were told to resultantly curb incorrect tendencies such as focusing only on money and only on traffic, and change rules and gameplay designs that induce players to indulge. So I'm trying to understand this logic. They want them to not focus only on money and traffic. They're a company that makes money off of video games. That's their unfortunately, that's something that they have to focus on. That is so stupid to say to a company, again, that focuses on creating video games and entertainment for not just kids, but for adults. This is so fucking stupid. It really is. To say that to a gaming company. But continuing on, both Tencent and NetEase said earlier in the day that they would comply with the regulatory requests. Honestly, I don't think they should, but whatever. The Chinese government is taking a very serious approach on online gaming, and these reported restrictions are a step ahead on that program. Kingston Securities Executive Director Dickie Wong told Reuters. Now, this is something that I have to go back to something that I said in my previous video. Or at least if I didn't, then I'm going to say it now. Because it seems like it only focuses, when it comes down to these restrictions, it really hinders the online community. So here's my question. There are offline games too. So what's to say that, okay, the kid isn't going to play one of the online games? He can't play it because there's this restriction? Even though I can only imagine the headache that it's going to be to set up these restrictions. But at the same time, okay, the kid plays an hour of online play. What's to say him, going onto a gaming console and playing a game that is offline? There are other games besides online play games. You guys realize that, right? There's The Witcher, Horizon Zero Dawn, anything involving RPG that gives you hours upon hours of play. There are still a ton of other games that you kids can go on and play. You realize that, right? How are you going to implement those restrictions, especially since, it does seem like it just focuses on the online play? It makes no sense whatsoever. And again, if anything, it shouldn't be the government's responsibility. I sound like a broken record, but the parents should be parents and should act like parents and basically do what they should be doing as parents. If they think that their kids are playing too much video games, then do your job and actually act and take care of the problem. Shouldn't be the government's fault or government's issue. But anyways, continuing, I think it continues with a quote saying, "I think these moves show for investors is not a good idea to put their money in just one of the internet or technology companies on the mainland." Wang, hopefully I said that, pronounced it correctly, CEO of Megatrust Investment, HK, said the regulatory pressure will likely last for years, not months. It's still too early to tell which companies are better positioned to deal with the ongoing regulatory scrutiny. Now, one last piece of the article gives a warning for Metaverse. It says, Metaverse warning. The global and domestic investors have been jolted by an ongoing regulatory squeeze that has sought to root out some of the perceived excesses of the runaway growth in some of China's new economy sectors in recent years. Separately, on Thursday, Chinese state media cautioned investors against blindly buying Chinese stocks, hoping to profit from the Metaverse, a virtual shared space based on virtual technologies. The commentary by the official Securities Times follows a recent surge in stocks such as Shenzhen, I'm gonna screw this up. Zhongpingbao Interaction Network and Perfect World that are perceived as developing the Metaverse. Shares in related stocks tumbled after the commentary was published, with Wondershare Technology falling by nearly 11% and Gurtech down by almost 9%. Other regulatory measures have included a crackdown in anti-competitive behavior among online platform companies and seeking greater control of the vast stores of data generated by industries or the industry. The Transport Ministry also said on Wednesday it would intensify a crackdown on illegal behavior in the ride-hailing industry and deal with online platforms that are still using non-compliant vehicles and drivers. Okay, so final thoughts. And I know for some people this would probably be an unpopular opinion. And again, I don't want to try to be political. I'm just looking at this at my own standpoint, and as well as looking at other situations that have been, kind of similar to this, or at least not to this degree, but situations that would be kind of somewhat similar, which is why I've made a reference to Dr. Phil. But anyways, my final thoughts, and I've said this time and time again, several times in this video, in fact, and I think it's just blatant that this is the honest truth. At least, again, in my opinion. This is this kind of issue, especially when it comes to kids playing video games and how long they play, the government should not be getting involved in this. You have clearly parents that aren't doing what the fuck they're supposed to be doing. If you have a kid that's playing several hours, like hours upon hours of video games, and if you're that concerned with it, then do your job as the parent and actually act and limit the time that your kid is playing video games. Because again, it seems like this whole ban or this limitation of how much time people play games, especially for minors, where it's only 3 hours a week, seems to only focus on the online play. And I think what the Chinese government is forgetting is the fact that, unfortunately, there are other games that aren't based online. There really isn't. There's a slew of games that people can play that is offline, and it at this point, it kind of makes the, again, it just seems like a waste of energy for this whole ban to happen. So, with that being said, again, there's so many other things that they could be focusing on. This just seems like it's a waste of energy and may cause problems. Especially when it seems like, if to a certain degree, trying to implement this whole ban for online play may cause problems for not just China, but possibly for the rest of the planet when it comes to internet. Possibly. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this article. Again, the article itself is called Chinese Gaming and Metaverse Shares Battered by Regulatory Squeeze. And I'll try to leave a link in the description down below. If in case I forget, I apologize. But I will try to leave a link. But with that, I'm going to end it here. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. And I will see you guys in the next video.